Welcome everyone to a brand new tournament that has started. It's called the Grand Chess Tour. It is a series of events, and the first one is the Superbet Cup that's happening in Romania. The players who are part of this are the ones on your screen right now: Wesley So, Shakhriyar Mamediarov, Alexander Grishchuk, Levon Aronian, Fabiano Caruana, Anish Giri, MVL, Temur Rajabov, Konstantin Lupulescu and Deac Bogdan Daniel. The last two on the right are local players from Romania, and they are very strong grandmasters, and they've got an opportunity to play with the best in the world. Some pictures for you. Here is the nice score sheet and also the chessboard pieces of the event. This is the setup here where they are playing. It's a nice playing hall. It's an over the board event which has been quite a rarity in the last few days. Beautiful to see this. Also, Garry Kasparov is a big force behind this entire Grand Chess Tour, and you see him making the inaugural move against, for Temur Rajabov, who was playing against Caruana. That's our superhero there, super GM, Anish Giri. And he played the most interesting game, which you're going to see. His opponent was Deac Bogdan, a very, very talented youngster from Romania, and he gave Anish a tremendous fight here. You can see their nice expressions. Lennart Utis, who is the photographer, has captured these pictures. Amazing photographer he is. The expressions that he captures are just tremendous. So I think let's get to the games. There were 5 games, and we're going to check out the most exciting one of all of them, which is Anish's game against Deac Bogdan. Now, Anish was playing with the black pieces here, and he opened the game with 1 d4. Deac opened with 1 d4. Anish played his pawn to d5. c4, c6, the Slav. Knight to c3, knight f6. Knight f3 and e6. This is known as the semi-Slav, and for Anish, who is one of the top seeds of this tournament, it was an important game to beat his young opponent, and to do it with black pieces is never easy, and that's the reason why he chose this fighting system. Bishop to g5, h6, bishop h4, d takes c4 was played here, e4, the Moscow system. And it's a very, very sharp line, because if you play the move b5 here, then after e5 there's a pin, g5, knight takes g5, h5 and bishop g5. This leads to the Botvinnik system, but Moscow is a little bit calmer, you can say, than the Botvinnik, because after the move g5, the bishop has to move, and now you save the pawn. So what white says is that I have the central pawns, and yes, you have an extra pawn, but I'll try to, fight this. You also have a weakness here. I can hit it with h4. So white has some compensation here. Bishop e2 was played, and generally, trying to win a pawn with b4 doesn't work, because after knight a4, knight e4, bishop e5, hitting the rook, you really don't want to make moves like f6. You will see that these things do not work in this opening, because white has a huge lead in development here, and then when the knight moves, there's a check coming up. So bishop b7 was played, and now queen to c2, a relatively lesser known move here, because h4 is very common. There are also other possibilities in this position, but queen c2, and Anish went for knight h5. Again, this is a move that has been played in many, many correspondence games, but not in over-the-board games. I think just 1 or 2. So already we are in territories that has not been seen in over-the-board play. But nowadays, correspondence games have become like the thing to follow for top-level players. Rook d1 was played by Deac. Take, pawn takes, and knight to a6 was played by Anish. White played a3, stopping knight b4. Anish now played his bishop to g7 and e5. So now the knight is threatening to come to e4 and then to c5, to d6. Queen e7 by Anish, knight e4. What is Anish going to do about knight d6 check? It's a big problem. He castled, and when the knight jumped in, now this knight is worth a rook. Because if you play king b8, it's very strong on d6. So Anish said, let me give up my exchange here. And now he has 2 pawns and a knight for a rook. Seems like a good bargain. And now Deac just simply castled. I think at this point, Anish had to be slightly more careful. Maybe knight c7 makes a lot of sense, just trying to keep his position as it is. But he went g4, and this is where things started to get ugly for the Dutch GM. Because knight e5 hits f7, first of all. But Anish had planned that he'll take here. Pawn takes, queen takes, and now bishop takes g4. Well, even possible was rook fe1, keeping the options open to take on g4 or c4. If black goes, say, something like queen g7, trying to keep things protected, I would like to pass the mic over to you. What do you play here as white? White to play. What is your move here? Yeah, well, if you found the move b3, fantastic job. This is the move opening up the attack to the black king. And this is a very key concept that happens in the game. White took. Anish went h5, rook fe1. And now he played his queen to g7. F6. Bishop f3. Now h4. So black is coming at white's king. And if you take, then this will be really something to worry about. There are checkmating threats here, and black is getting good play. So Deac said that, well, Anish, if you take here on g3, I'll take back. There's nothing bad happening as such. Why don't I play b3 and open up your king? Fantastic move by the youngster. C takes b3, queen takes b3, hg3, and fg3. So now making a spot for the king to come to f2 if required. The queen g7 was played here, and now came the move queen to d3. So threatening to come in, and already white is having a very good position. Knight went back to c7. I was just wondering if you can take this pawn here, but then after check, king here and take this. White has a very nice position. Also check, king f2, check g3, and the bishop will drop back here, and then the rook will swing in. I think white is just better. So knight c7 was played, queen d7, queen d6 at attacking the pawn here, and now came the move c5. This is where white to play, and this is one of the most important positions of the game. What would you play here as white? It's a very tricky move, but can you find it? White to move. Okay, the move that was played in the game was queen d7, which was a mistake. What had to be played was rook e5. And I'm not sure why Deac would have rejected or whether he missed this move. Let's say the threat is rook takes c5 and there is a mate here. So suppose you try to block it like this way, then after bishop d5, at the very least you have queen c5, and then rook c1 can come, or rook takes d5, and the black king is going to get mated. So you can't do that. At the same time, what Anish was aiming for with the move c5 is that you can't take queen takes c5 here, because after bishop f3, it is the white king which is in trouble with queen g3 coming up. Also, if you play bishop takes b7, king b7, and now queen c5, then after queen g3, there is still great attack against the white king. So Anish had things covered up, but what he missed was this move rook e5. And now if you were to take on f3, it's just very slow, because rook c5 and I am reaching before to your king in this position. Let's say f5, now I go gf3, and now my queen protects the g3 square. So very tricky. Rook e5, if queen g3, this is the key variation. What do you play here as white? Well, kudos if you, not rook c5, kudos if you found the move rook h5, which is a nice move because after queen d6, I just take here and then take here, and take on b7, which is a rook up and a winning position for white. So rook e5 would have actually won the game for white in this position, but he went queen d7, then he took, king takes b7, and after this, somehow the black position is quite solid. Rook e6 was a nice move. The knight cannot take because of the pin here, and the pawn cannot take because of the pin here. But Anish said, well, I'll take the pawn on g3, queen c6, king g8, queen d6. The queens were exchanged, king b7. If you see, black has 4 pawns against 2 pawns for white, and the material is roundabout even. Although there could be some winning chances for white, it was not enough because black pawns are very strong. So a move like, rook f7 takes is already very risky for white to play because black pawns look like they are faster than the white pawn on g2. So Deac didn't try to venture into that. He played king f2, a5, king e2, rook g7, and now the g2 pawn fell. Well, if you try to attack the rook, I'll come and defend my knight this way. So king here, check, and there were many checks, and here the players agreed to a draw because there's nothing much more to be done. If you try to go, let's say, in this position after rook g2, king b3, then I give rook g3 check. If you try to go further in, then you will get checkmated. So that's not what you want. Also, king c4 can be met with rook c3, and black is completely fine. So in this way, the game ended in a draw between Deac and Anish, but it was one of the most exciting games. All other games ended in draws as well, so we don't have a clear leader as of now. But fantastic play by the young Romanian GM, Deac, and I think he is someone that we should follow with great excitement. There he is on your screen. This is Sagar Shah signing off, and I'll be covering more games from this event. Bye bye.